Up next on the Run That Back podcast, Keith Sweat. What album?
Make It Last Forever.
Make It Last Forever, y'all. Let's get it. Welcome back to the Run That Back podcast. I am Scorpio Moe.
I am C.Boogie.
And this is
the Run That Back podcast.
I feel like we just said that like over and over.
We said that twice.
Yeah, I know. My bad. I know the caption's about to say something crazy above. But today we are here talking about the debut album of Mr. Keith Sweat. C.Boogie's going to give us the status on the album, the label, and all that information. What up?
Yes, we are talking about Make It Last Forever, Keith Sweat's debut album. As we said before in the previous episode, 1987, we already know what the climate was back then. But the album came out November 24th, 1987. It was recorded in 1987. The producers were Keith Sweat and Teddy Riley. This album had 4 singles. Interestingly enough, only 2 videos from it. A lot of hood classics.
Only 8 songs. Let's be real clear.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Only 8 songs. And technically back then, albums were only about 9 to 10. And anything over 10 tracks, it was just basically gravy considered for a record label. So 8 records, and these 8 records he gave you were some bangers.
Here's the thing, like, because it came out in 87, correct?
Correct.
So, but it didn't hit until 88. And then saying that, so that leads you to our normal questions, like, when did you first become aware of Keith Sweat?
I became familiar with Keith Sweat with his first single, I Want Her.
Now, like I was saying, was that 87 or was that 88?
No, that was 87 because
Okay.
that single was released on September 21st, 1987.
And you caught it then?
I mean, I caught it somewhere between when it came out and before the album dropped. Because 87, September, I was 16. I just became a senior in high school. So it was like, and to be honest with you, I didn't even like I Want Her. I did not even like that song. But that's how, I mean, we'll get into it, but that's how I became familiar with Keith Sweat, with I Want Her. What about you?
It wasn't until 88, February, because I remember not moving, and then I was living with, he's originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I went to Job Corps in Pittsburgh, so I remember as soon as I got there, everything ushered in. I was introduced to on their radio station called Whammo, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm introduced to it through Whammo, hearing the whole New Jack, because there was some other people, because we got to explain the climate too.
Right.
So, but not so much of the climate of 87, but to me, when they made the connection, to me, it didn't connect until 88. So
right.
The climate to me was, Al B. Shore, Keith Sweat guy.
But all that sparked off in 88. That's what, like, that whole...
That's why I didn't really connect with Keith until... Because you got to remember, it was only video sold. I didn't connect with Keith until I saw the video.
Right.
And then it's all this other stuff going on. This Effect Mode, this Night and Day. Yeah. And then there's Teddy with Groove Me.
Right.
And this is all this stuff happening at one time. And I was introduced in Keith through that, a 3-headed monster, pause, like that kind of thing. And that's how I got hip to Keith. So by the time I heard I Want Her, and it was just a hip sound. Like, it wasn't like, I don't know, man, just with these guys who were doing R&B, I just knew it wasn't my daddy's R&B. It might have been my cool uncle's R&B. I know it wasn't my daddy's R&B. I know that.
Yeah, I think as we discussed before recording, it's like this album was what we call the cornerstone of Teddy Riley's New Jack Swing era, because, like you said, it was a pivot. You still had the certain sounds of old school R&B, because even back then, who was out. The OJ's dropped an album. Dionne Warwick dropped an album. So you still had the
You're coming
old
off
guard.
the heels from
You still had the old guard.
the old guard
Right.
and the bands
Right.
kind of filter. It's going away, and here's ushering this new sound, driven by Teddy and the New Jack Swing.
Right.
Even Bobby Brown's album, first album, we're coming off the heels of that.
Right. And
So-
technically, if you think about it, it was only, I want to say, I Want Her was really the New Jack sound off of that album, because everything else you got sort
R&B
of a-
wise.
R&B. No, I'm saying R&B
It might have
wise.
been.
You still got a traditional feel. You still got a traditional R&B sound, but the up tempo of I Want Her, that's what sounded different on radio. That's what was different. That had the hard hitting, like driving funk beat and the kind of hip hop undertones. It really wasn't hip hop, but I mean you had the
But even with the
it was there.
hook, and you hear how they're doing it, I
the
don't know if
sample
it's
and everything.
Right,
Yeah, that
right.
was Teddy Riley doing
Right.
all that and everything. But yeah, that's
Almost auto-tune-ish. Because Teddy is going through the vocoder then, correct? When he's saying I want her,
well-
that sound in his voice, right?
on the album. He does some vocoder talk box stuff, but on I really wouldn't say auto tune, because auto tune.
Well, no, auto. It still
Like,
had
it's more
that
sample.
sound.
It's
Yeah.
more samplerish.
Right,
it's
right,
more
right,
like
right.
you use that. But I mean, yeah, that's where the pivot of R&B in the '90s occurred with that album.
No, yeah, at 1,000%. So he had the jump start. Not knowing. So it's the first single is I Want Her, right?
I Want Her.
I Want Her. I just remember seeing the video and had his name. It's a stage performance, if I'm not correct.
Well, technically,
on,
there was not a video for I Want Her.
What am I thinking about? With him standing there, and it had Keith, and it had Sweat. That's not I Want Her?
No, that was not a video. For like his two biggest songs.
What were the singles on it? You said they only dropped 2, right?
No, he dropped 4 singles, but only 2 videos.
So what were the 2 videos?
Something Just Ain't Right and Don't Stop Your Love.
That's what I'm thinking about. Don't Stop Your Love
Yeah.
has it. Oh, no.
Yes.
No, hold on. What was the other one you said?
Something Just Ain't Right.
What about The Rain?
No.
Okay, so something just ain't right. Okay. I'm thinking back now. That was kind of like, they were going in and out of black and white shots, like in the video, because I'm thinking the video in my head and I see it. But I think they exited out The Rain and then they go into one of the videos, because there's a clip where we can look that up. I think one video starts exiting a song and then entering another song.
We'll have to look that up. Yeah, because I don't,
in my
I don't
mind,
remember that.
I kind of feel that and I kind of see that. But
Yeah.
so we go into the first single, which drops in, you said September?
September 21st, 1987, I Want Her came out. That was the biggest song off of that album. Hold up.
Hold on, what?
Yeah. I Want Her.
Oh yeah.
I Want Her was the biggest song.
Yeah.
off of that album. Was the biggest hit off of that album.
Well, it's the biggest single. It was that was dropped between the two. But if you talk to people and you hear like,
well, I think you know what song sold the album.
but see that's where I was saying we were talking about this like in other projects,
Right.
Like, if you have a album and they're dropping them singles, but you want them to buy the album, and people like release that and be like, nah, I don't want to release that because that's what's selling the album. It's
Right.
not like before, like now when they leaked the whole project. It's a different time. So to me, it was bigger records on there, but as far as the singles they released, that was the biggest single.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Got you. So we do that, and then we go into, like I said, we explained the climate, right? So this was probably the first full project to introduce. But to me, he didn't go heavy New Jack Swing.
No, and that's what I'm saying. He did. It wasn't a heavy. Like I said, it's the cornerstone of New Jack Swing, and the up tempo of I Want Her was the foundation for New Jack Swing, but it still had old school R&B elements to it. You know what I'm saying? It still had the, you know, your
so we're still in this as far as R&B records go. It was still in its infant stages.
As far as this new
R&B,
wave,
because you gotta think prior to that, Teddy, I think it was a song called New Rap's New Generation. Teddy did, and then prior to that was The Show, and then we got the Kumo D records. Go See the Doctor.
How You Like Me Now?
How You Like Me Now.
Yeah.
So,
but that was straight hip hop, though.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So, as far as a whole cohesive R&B album, and I think sticking his toe all the way in the water was the Keith Sweat joint.
Correct. That was his first. That was his first jump into R&B outside of his own group guy.
Right. So these not full. Like you hear the sounds, but it's not full New Jack Swing. Would you say? At that point.
At that point, I just think I Want Her is New Jack Swingish. That's where the funk and that's where the driving drum beat kicks in. That's where that's where I think the cornerstone of the New Jack Swing R&B era starts with that.
And it's almost like you hear the cutting of the voice, and they yeah. You hear all that. You okay? So okay. So it's the sprinkle of it, but it's not really the. You know, we're getting to that. We should do a whole thing on just the New Jack.
Yeah,
cover the whole.
That's on its own. That's
cover the whole thing, and we just touch on everybody from in that era. So we got that. Then we build up to the second single. So now it's 88. Second single.
Second single is Something Just Ain't Right.
It kind of broke it down a little bit.
Yeah, that was released on January 9th, 1988.
See, now this is where I'm getting, you know, because I moved to Pittsburgh at that time. Because when I say I moved to a new town, everything was new. I moved in the day after Valentine's Day. And I'm hearing all this new stuff. So you're hearing the introduction to that, and I'm just like, whoa. But at the same time, I'm hearing Effect Mode.
Yeah.
You know, but still not associated with new, you know, Off on Your Own Girl yet. But that kind of had that. That, to me, touched more on the New Jack Swing than what Keith was doing. But Keith comes out and, you know, this different name, Keith Sweat. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Something ain't right. It's just, it was definitely a time. So now we're early in 88 and we're still explaining like the climate of the time. So there's this new sound, even coming out of Harlem, because I think what is his name? Rob Bass comes out. It's a changing of the guards with R&B and hip hop at this time.
Yeah.
You know, we always talk about the two biggest years of the 80s for young music was 88 and 89.
Yeah.
That's when they made like a super big pivot.
Yeah.
But I like, you know, so, but like I said, I just knew it wasn't the older people, you know, it was a little too cool for them, but to me it was just like, yo, this is trying to figure out how to embrace it because it's different, it's more hip, it's more, you know, things of that nature. And like I said, everything was just new and fresh at this time, especially with R&B, because R&B had made a turn, and you could tell with the Girl Next Door album to the My Prerogative album, it's night and day with the sound. So you know what I'm saying? So I think that's the direction music was going. And you were mentioning like all the other acts had albums out too, but I think that's when, I mean, it's not, I'm trying to sound disrespectful or nothing. That's when they're like, oh, their sound, I'll just say it like this, their sound started to change, and they kind of, a new crew started coming to the forefront with the sound, with the Karen Whites, with the, you know, and that's when you see the elevation of Face, but not LA and Face quite, but you see Face,
no,
the production team.
At that time, it's LA and
It
Face.
is, because I still remember, you got to remember, in 88, we're still, it's to occasions. That was another big record I knew at that time.
Right.
So there's still the deal,
Right.
but you still got, like I said, they're still producing the Karen Whites, and then you got Jimmy Jam and them doing their thing, and
yeah, they're messing with Janet.
Yeah. So it's definitely this new hip sound coming aboard. So Keith Sweat, solo artist. So prior to that, when was the last time? I mean, Bobby threw his hat in the game, but when was the last time we had a male successful artist before that time? When was the last? I mean, we had them obviously, but I'm saying like before that time, who was? And the only people that really come to mind, which is a little sad, and y'all can maybe help me, because I know that time people. I'm saying before the time, and the only people I could think of solo wise is like Freddie Jackson.
Well, yeah, Freddie Jackson did have an album out around that time. Here's something wild. In '88, I believe, George Michael's album from Wham, his album was actually on the R&B charts.
Because of
he had the Careless Whisper when he was with Wham. That was the.
But he had that R&B. He had that slow record.
Yeah, he had Father Figure on that album.
The real slow one. It sound like a black.
Yeah, Father Figure.
That's it.
That was Father Figure. He had what?
Guilty.
There was Careless Whisper.
That was the one.
Yeah, but that was with Wham. That was with his.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
That was
it was
solo.
Wham featuring George Michael, but I mean, it was basically his solo record, but he was released as Wham. So basically, black people got hip to him through that song.
Right.
So that's why his album was kind of marketed to the R&B market and pop market, of course, because then.
But Keith ain't have to worry.
But he didn't. But he didn't have to worry about really.
It was none before him. Like, I'm talking about R&B solo guy before Keith. Like, it was no They were there coming because everybody else came after in '88. But I mean, prior to Keith, there wasn't a male solo artist that hit. And it, wow. I mean, I don't know why Freddie Jackson keeps coming to mind.
I mean, but because you got to think about Freddie Jackson, because he was a solo male. He wasn't in a band.
That hit, and he hit.
Right.
But who else?
Oh, Alexander O'Neal. Alexander O'Neal was in '88.
No. That's when he came back. Yeah, I ain't even think about it.
Yeah, Alexander O'Neal.
But once again, when you seen it, was he hit to you? I mean, I like the songs. Alexander O'Neal's one of my favorite guys. His tone of his voice is very rich. But what I'm saying was he your guy? Was he like, yo, let me put it in? You listen, you know what I'm saying? Did you think, yo, you gonna put him in the car and put at this and it's still tapes and be like, yo, we're gonna bump this. Yo, you see what I'm saying? Yo, listen to it when it came up, but did you play it?
I mean, he was definitely on the slow jam tape. But I don't think like during the day or anything. I think what it is that like Alexander O'Neal, Freddie Jackson, they were your traditional R&B artists.
Crooners.
What I'm saying is they were your traditional R&B artists as far as suits, swooning the ladies, that type of old school R&B. Keith Sweat was on the verge. He was the verge and the pivot of he was. I think he was like 26 in '87 or something of that nature, but he was on that verge with Bobby Brown.
He had a flat top.
Exactly.
He had a shirt open.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
so he was young enough. He was in that young enough bracket to be like, oh, this is new. This is what's coming up.
And he's from Harlem.
True.
It's the swagger. And maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
like, when did you see? I was about to say James Taylor when he was. I don't. Like, I can't think of. Like, the other guys were suited, but it just was like. Even when I thought of getting dressed up, I wasn't thinking of getting dressed up like them. I don't know, but when I seen Keith, it was like, hey, this is different.
This is Oak Tree time.
This is.
This is
You
two
know-
suits for $99. I'm talking about full suits at Oak Tree. I'm talking
No,
about.
I had a purple one and a mustard color.
I had a mustard suit as well, and a green and an olive green one. So trust
That
me,
was
I
a
know what
popular
you're
color too.
I
That
know
was.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. I think dudes was wearing shoulder pads.
Oh, shoulder. It was late '80s shoulder pads.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not tripping. Okay,
You
cool.
ain't tripping.
So that was that time. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. So I like I said, I couldn't see a guy that hit and that was hip other than Keith's. And you have to really kind of find a guy in between that time. So Keith's out. It's 88. It's a changing of the guards.
Correct.
And like we talked about earlier, it's like how many songs? 8 songs.
8 songs, and half the album was released. The third single that came out.
But did we ever say the label?
The label was Electric.
Electric.
Right.
Okay. So I want to think that Sylvia Rome and them was over there. Okay.
Yeah, the third single that came out, which is the song that actually sold the album, was Make It Last Forever. That was released on April 25th, 1988. That song. Now we are like right before summer '88. We are.
That's what I'm talking about.
We about to be in the thick of it all.
Now we're hot because Al is out, Albie Shore is out, Guy is out.
New Edition.
I think that until 88. That's 89.
No,
right?
that's 88, I believe.
Look that up. It might be. But so now you see this. You see Albie Shore with the denim jacket on Night and Day. You know what I'm saying? The acid wash and the distressed jeans. It's a different look. You see what I'm saying? R&B dudes wasn't doing that. You know, Bobby tried to do the look on his first album, but it didn't really come off. What happened?
Any Heartbreak was released June 20th, 1988. And you also got to think about this.
88 was a monster.
You got to think about this. That's when the album was released. If It Isn't Love, which was the initial single, was probably released. Actually, I could tell you when it was released. If It Isn't Love was released June 7th of 88. So back then they were breaking singles like 3 weeks before the album came out, and the video,
Unlike today, you might not get the album and get 4 singles.
Yeah, but
okay.
That's when they came out in 88 as well. Like I said, it was Bobby Brown, New Edition, Keith Sweat, Guy, Troop, Albie Shore. That whole summer to winter,
especially the Johnny Kemp, and then it segues into Keith Sweat's writing, because a lot of people don't know to me personally, Keith Sweat's he does a lot of stuff probably better than actually sing, but his writing game is impeccable, and can we just double check if he wrote all those songs, or how many songs did he actually write on?
Oh no, album? he wrote every song.
And so from what I understand, they didn't get it in time for mastering the Just Got Paid, the Johnny Kemp, which was produced by Teddy. So they wind up selling it to an artist that Teddy was working with, and that was Johnny Kemp, who they knew. Johnny was in the band. They were all in different bands.
Yeah.
And you gotta remember, like we were saying, they were coming out of those bands. That era. These guys started in bands, but the sound had changed. They started getting in the drum machine, so on and so forth. So you got that, but I don't think Keith Sweat's writing gets enough credit. And I'm gonna say this. I know we're probably jumping the gun a little bit, but the guy, the on the second album, the Future album, what was the song? The slow song.
Let's Chill.
Let's Chill was supposed to be on Keith's first album. Right? Keith wrote, this is what I'm saying. So, and there's other stuff that Keith did, but those are the 2 big joints where he made it like and they didn't make the album for whatever reason.
Yeah, it took they actually did 16 to 17 songs for the album.
Right.
It took 6 months to record the album, and one of the, like you said, one of the songs that didn't make it was Just Got Paid. Keith Sweat passed on it, and like I said, Teddy Riley gave it to Johnny Kemp for his album. So that's how he got.
I mean, he still got paid, y'all. But yeah. And then, you know, I heard the story of Let's Chill or whatever. It's Keith Sweat record again.
Yeah.
Which has been remade before. Charlie Wilson remade it.
Yeah.
Fun fact: I was in the studio when Charlie Wilson remade it. That was an experience all in itself to see him go in the booth and do that and just knock it out. But
let's bring it back to Make It Last Forever. That particular song was the song that sold the album. That song was
featuring. We can't forget that.
Correct. Featuring
Jackie McGee,
Miss Jackie McGee,
who was in the band before. That's how they all knew each other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, but Jackie McGee, like, go back and I know somebody that did that in a talent show. When I was in Job Boy and did that song, like killed it. Like Jackie McGee, like, and then she tells the story. I saw the story somewhere on social media where she met Keith, and who did I say she was the dude from Slave?
Steve from Slave.
Steve from Slave. That she thought that's where he was trying to sound like him. If you ever go back, what was that big record?
Weak at the Knees.
No, before the other record. We Got Knees is one of them. It's another record that he sings and sounds just like what Keith Sweat does. Girl of Fire. I don't know. Don't get me to say I'm no singer, but and she was like, "Oh, that's what he's going for," because you know Keith Sweat sings very nasal, you know, that kind of thing. But I always thought he was a better writer than a singer. But yes. Make It Last Forever, featuring Jackie McGee. She kills, like, you know, I think we got cheated out not having the project. I think she had a window then, and it could have.
I actually think she had one single.
Yeah, that's what she talked about.
Right, she had one single, but I don't think
by the time they did that single, it was over, man.
Yeah, because the time to strike would have been like while the song was hot.
What?
Like smoking.
She talked about going on tour with them or whatever. And I'm gonna try to reach out where I think I follow her. Try to reach out to Jackie. See if we can get an interview and we'll do a follow-up piece. We'll do a follow-up short.
Yeah.
You know, something so she can kind of explain, you know. But incredible vocalist. And they sound good together. She, with Keith's tone, it balances it out. To me, that's what it felt like. It was a good balance with her vocals and his.
Yeah, because she had a powerhouse type of vocal.
That's what I mean.
And he was more laid back with it. But the thing is, speaking about his vocal tone, Teddy actually told him to sing nasally so that he would sound different. And he was like, I'm not doing that. And he ended up doing it on I Want Her. And guess what? That song ended up selling over 500,000 copies.
So you think that Keith Sweat cannot sing nasally like that? Can sing without that and still sound good? Explain that to me. Do you really think?
I've never heard. Listen, we just talking about this album.
No, I'm asking you. So no, does that story sound right? Ask yourself. It's like, okay, so he can really belt out and just be the most. He talks like he sings.
Kind of talks like a pimp,
but it's this.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, but it's all here.
Yeah, that's true. True.
I'm like, you can't sing no other way.
That's true.
I'm like, I don't know.
Understood.
I don't know if I buy that. That's a good excuse to say why he sings the way he sings, but I think he sings like he talks. That's how he sings.
The next single, Don't Stop Your Love.
Once again, Jackie McGee.
Now,
Yeah. At the end.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right.
At the end.
You're right. Because I was like,
Yeah.
but then she has ad libs towards the end of the song.
Yeah.
It doesn't give a release date for that, but that was the last song of the album's campaign. That was the last song. That was the second video.
Man, they were on a roll by then.
Yeah.
They eat like, come on. I think it was a tour with Albie Shaw, Keith Sweat, and
Bobby. I think he was on tour with Bobby Brown and Keith Sweat and BBD, or was that Johnny?
Later,
Gill?
That was later. That was later on.
But I mean, there was like during that year, there was like a stretch of like there was like a tour that went out with that.
And I mean, because
was, like,
he was
another tour that just
Hiram Hicks was managing a lot of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that kind of thing. But I just think Keith with the sound. So let's just go through all 8 records and just kind of list them.
So just. The track listing for the album is Something Just Ain't Right. Right in the Wrong Way.
Hey, okay, stop right now. No. Let's stop. Let's break them down. So we already broke down
Something Just Ain't Right.
So now it's, what was it?
Right in the Wrong Way.
Okay. Now, and this is the reason why I'm saying, this is how you know the times are different, right?
And I got a problem with this.
The first line, I'm gonna let him do it. The first line is what?
You may be young, but you're ready. Ready to love.
Ooh, that's, hey, in these times, ooh, I don't know if that line works now.
But here's the thing. The last lines of the song is what I have a problem with. You're not a little girl. No, it's like no. You're a big girl now.
No more daddy's little girl.
No more daddy, little girl.
Right.
So how are you saying...
Hold on. Is it no more daddy little girl? No more daddy's little girl.
No. You're a big girl now.
I got it.
No more daddy, little girl.
I dispute that. I think there's a plot. Daddies, no more daddies. You're not daddy's little girl. I dispute that.
We're going.
I dispute that. I think it's daddies. We're saying the same thing. I'm just saying S. Like it's his.
We are going to look this up.
Apostrophe. Right, well, it's not apostrophe. If you say daddy.
Oh no. Okay, you're right. I just didn't hear the S. No more daddies.
This song is 30-something years old. He's now here. I'm going to say, yo. Now the way you said, they both sound creepy.
But that's what I'm saying. I got because you're not a you're a big girl now. No more daddy's little girl. So in today's climate, I just got a problem.
For some reason, yours sound way worse.
I mean, let's think about this for a second.
Like you just strong armed, you no more daddy girl. Like
listen. This was '88. Listen, times was different back then. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I got a problem with the end, but that's just
the whole from beginning, and I guess you got to even comb through the middle at this point. But not, it's still foul. It's still
the whole
a wild
line. Problematic. But let's not deny it. It was on the slow jam.
It was what?
It was on the slow jam tape.
Those who, if you're a younger crowd, which you're probably not that young if you're listening to this podcast and you want to run back these old albums, but there was a time on tape where you will make, whether you got it from the radio
or you had a dual cassette player.
That's normally how it was done. Or, you listen to the Quiet Storm and got however means you got it.
That was between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
Right. And you would make a tape full of slow jams, and people had the wildest titles on their tape. I done heard all kind of wild stuff and seen all kind of wild stuff over the years, but back then, if you didn't have a Keith Sweat song or two, you were out of pocket.
Oh,
that's how popular you were out of pocket. If you didn't have, it was like, what?
Let's just take a break for a second. A few songs that you should have had on your slow jam tape back then.
This is 88. My 88 as 80. We'll include 89 in here too.
A Keith Sweat song. And we got 2 more songs that should be on the tape coming up. But a Keith Sweat song, 2 Occasions by The Deal, Sunshine by Alexander O'Neal. I'm just saying.
Let me explain to y'all the progression of R&B music through the times and generations. There was R&B at first. R&B music, it was about holding hands. Then the next phase comes out, which is the 80s, and it's like, I'm in love and we're making love. Then somehow we shift gears into fucking. This is what
How I go from French into fucking?
This is we went to it just jumped to now. You see where we at. But back then, you know, the 88 and keep it real with you. 1 or 2 Keith Sweat records were a must-have on a slow jam tape for real.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So now the 3rd single was "Tell Me It's Me You Want." I mean, it wasn't
little ego driven.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it wasn't one of the.
It wasn't one of the popular.
It's one of the popular songs on the album. We just do that. 4th song was "I Want Her." Like I said, I didn't like "I Want Her" until I saw him live. Once I saw that live, I was like, that song is incredible. Because I don't know what he did live with that song, but that song was just.
Did he have it with a band?
Oh yeah, he was with a band. He wasn't with no DJ.
No, but that was probably the biggest difference. Hear it with a, everything elevates if you got a band.
Yeah, he killed that live.
And he comes from a band too. So.
True, so he probably knows how to make that work. The next song was "Make It Last Forever," which should have been on your slow jam tape.
Hey, the 808 on that. All of the slow jams, but he was the first one in R&B really to incorporate the 808. Boom.
Yeah.
What? Ooh.
The next song, "In the Rain."
Go. Listen, it go another one. I think one of the videos start out with that, then go into.
Well, probably check it.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, but "In the Rain," that's another slow jam. That's another slow jam cut. That one wasn't one of my favorites. I liked it, but it wasn't one of my favorites. Number 7. This song is, to me, one of his best songs ever. "How Deep Is Your Love?"
Man. First of all, that could take on so many different.
Man, that song right there should have been on your slow jam tape. Not once.
Listen.
Not twice.
That might go down
3 times.
It might go down the Slow Jam Hall of Fame.
That's
my
Slow Jam Hall of Fame.
It might go down. Let me tell you something. You play that. Let me tell you. If you're dealing with a woman, I would say if she was about in the mid to late 50s right now, knocking on 60, and you got that, and you got a bottle of
Moet.
I don't even think it was that. Cisco, Manischewitz. I don't know.
2020.
Not Manischewitz, because at that time you probably fucking with Lou Ross.
Carlos Rossi.
I'm just saying, you got something like that, and you in this element, and you have black lacquer furniture and emerald green. I don't know, whatever the setting is. You are guaranteed. If you don't get none, it's you. It ain't the environment. It's you, because that song and all of his slow songs really set for real, really set the tempo.
Not to mention, this is when they played slow jams in the club. There was a break when the DJ, out of all the wild shit that they would play, all the fast songs, all the joints from the day. Guess what? There's going to be a slow jam break. That's what it was in the club. That's just how it went.
Listen. After he got finished playing loudly, "It Takes Two," and then he's like, which is fast as shit, right?
We gonna slow it down for all the
and they make the announcement. They always made the announcement. They just interruptly do. Yeah, there it is.
Grab your guy.
And hey man,
if you was roller skating.
And here's the thing, You didn't necessarily have to make your way to the dance floor. There's a perfectly good wall in the corner right there.
You need something to hold you back.
Right. So it's one of those things where, and then the song like, what was this?
How deep is your love?
Listen, man, the DJ back then and in my era, they would help you out. And it wasn't just one, they'd play a set.
3-song set.
They would help the brothers and sisters out to get next to who they wanted to get next to, whatever. So, which is a lost art right now in DJing. I wish somebody really. I also thought about one day promoting a party and just do nothing but slow jams.
Listen, man, let me tell you a 3-song set of slow jams that a DJ will play. 2 occasions. How Deep Is Your Love? Even Al B. Shore's Night and Day.
Yeah.
Another set might be Roni by Bobby Brown.
This is all in the same era, mind you.
It's the same era. This is Sunshine by Alexander O'Neal. This is I Just Want to Be Your Man by Roger and Zapp.
This is
y'all don't understand.
This is C.Boogie's like, now y'all see where, you know, where he was at in his, he was loving. He was loving these women. Because that, I had a couple of them on there, but you know, I sprinkle in the little Ready for the World.
Oh,
Prince's Adore.
Oh, Prince. Listen,
I'm just saying. We just said.
But here's the thing: they was playing Prince. They was playing Ready for the World in the club, helping you.
Yeah.
Helping you.
Yeah.
And they did this from teen clubs to the adult clubs to your lounges.
I'm sorry to get off on this thing. I'm sorry. But just understand that it was a certain time, a certain era, the way music presented itself, and the way we consume music and played the music back.
Yeah.
So now we're back to the portion of the show where we kind of like do our pros and cons of the album, and then how well the album aged at this time, 30-something years later, or whatever the case may be. So, with that being said, what is your opinions, like your pros and cons of the album?
The pros.
We're going to make it last forever, Keith Sweat album, just in case you just tune in later, whatever.
The pros. Good songs, without a doubt. Good songs on her, even though there's only 8 of them. Good songs. As I stated before, it's the cornerstone of New Jack. I won't say it's our introduction to Teddy Riley, but it's our introduction to R&B Teddy Riley.
Yeah.
It's also our introduction to Keith Sweat and his whining.
I'm just about to say that. We didn't
whining.
talk about that enough. Yeah, his signature wine. Yeah,
his wine and cheese, all that.
Right.
Yeah, those are my pros. What are yours?
Any cons though?
I'll get you up.
My pros, exactly what I think that was the introduction to the R&B sound. The New Jack Swing. I definitely believe that. The pros, I mean, it's a strong 7 out of 8. Like, like he swung for the fences and basically got it. Like, how do you got 8 songs and you got 7 like undeniable joints, in my opinion? 7 out of 8. You're lucky to get 3 off an album. He got 8. He got 7 off. So to me, that was, that kind of thing. He got 7 off that you're not mad at. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, yo, okay. To me, that's kind of like the pros of the situation for him. It's just that he ushered in that sound as far as R&B is concerned. Yeah. And he has 7 strong songs out of 8, which is, you can't be mad at that. What are your cons?
I think my cons are that he truly only had like one fast song, like one fast song, and that was I Want Her. The other songs were just mid-tempos. Mm-hmm. Something Just Ain't Right was a mid-tempo. Don't Stop Your Love was a mid-tempo.
I think with the tone of his voice, that's safer.
But it's not. But I Want Her was like that song went gold. Like that was like that was the sound that I was like, oh shit, this is what's coming next. Like this is so, you know, I think once the whole album blew up and everybody's like, oh, he does mid-tempos and slow songs much better than the fast songs. That's where he fell into his pocket.
And that's when we talk about what was selling the album. So he kind of focused on what was selling the album. Right. Okay. I think the cons are, for me, that it was probably enough R&B, but Keith just didn't. I would have liked to seen him do other things, like write more for people. Now, I know we're just focusing on this album,
right? Just doing this album because he did,
because it aged well. But you know, it aged well. The pros of it, the cons of it is that it was a timepiece, and he never surpassed that. To me, sonically, he might have had bigger albums, but sonically, he did it because Keith. To me, my favorite Keith Sweat records are the ones where he's featured. Like, that was his best solo effort. But moving past that, he never, to me, topped that. So it was like he's in competition with that album. Like, all the songs that I like with Keith Sweat after that got somebody else on them. Especially the Girls That Cut Close. I never heard, it was nothing after that album. And I think he wanted that solo, but I don't think he done it. To me, I never heard a Keith Sweat record after that without somebody else being on it. I'll be like, I like that. So it's the pro is I like it. The con is, to me, by himself, he never topped that album. He can't top. I think he was chasing that. Because it was for my taste, all the other Keith Sweat solo songs where it was just him, I didn't like. But when he had them girls on it, I liked it.
Well, you're probably right in the fact that he was chasing that success because in 94, April of 94, Make It Last Forever was certified triple platinum.
This is what I'm saying.
So 6 years later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think the appreciation for him was there, and I think people doubled back, but I think he never. So it's like the album, when you got albums like that, it's like the gift and the curse. You know, especially when it's your first joint. You want to do that on your second or third, and you have not saying you want the monster, because everybody wants to swing for the fence and get it. But the problem is when you get such a big sound, you got such a big hit, and people respond to that album, it is the sophomore jinx, and you know, but if you see people that had an alright album, then the second album blows up. To me, they tend to have a longer career. But if the first one hits big, they're always chasing that first one. It's rappers that do it, it's R&B people. Yeah. Bobby has done it. But imagine if but Bobby got it on the second one. That's what made it sweet. You know, he didn't get it on the first one. But if he got it with the first one, they would have been like, all your albums after that was trash. Because you set the bar so high for yourself.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, that goes back to if you want to break it down, let's talk. I mean, you could even bring Mike into that situation. Thriller. That was a nothing could top Thriller.
Yeah, but but here's the thing. You got Off the Wall before that.
Right. Now
and my favorite, I'm an off the wall. I know people, but I'm an off the wall guy. I'm not a Thriller guy.
As most black people are. Most black people
I argue with people all the time about that.
Better than Thriller. And then here's another hot take. Some people think that Bad is a better album musically than Thriller. Now you gotta take away the cultural impact of Thriller and just go, if you go song for song, because some people are like, oh, that album was trash, but when you're comparing it to Thriller, anything's going to be trash.
Maybe that's it.
I'm just saying the cultural impact. I mean, the follow up Bad was not as big as Thriller, and they labeled Bad as a flop. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. As far as somebody chasing,
right. But I'd rather chase my second album than my first album.
Well, I think,
especially when your first album is off the wall. If we're doing that, you see what I'm saying? I'm cool. I'm cool with that. But I don't want to get too far off. But the Keith Sweat Make It Last Forever, classic R&B album. It probably should be studied in sound, and young people need to go back. Slow songs, super incredible. It's a vibe. We're not. I don't know if people really taking Keith and be like, "Yo, he's just amazing, gifted vocalist." It's not that. You gotta understand, he's writing these records. Like I think even though I tend to overlook him, I gotta remind myself, he wrote that.
Yeah. He also, not to mention with his writing, he wrote for Cut Close.
No,
he wrote for Silk.
This is what I'm saying. We forget Keith's catalog is crazy. He could just go to the mailbox if he wants to. I know, he's doing radio now, whatever, and he's on clubs. He's done a lot. But to start off where he has with Teddy, coming from Harlem, worked on the stock market, and built himself up with a sound that was a little different than what was going on, and then other guys, people just capitalized on it. It's a testament to Keith Sweat's career at the end of the day. So shout out to Keith Sweat and to Make It Last Forever. Maybe we'll do another album with Keith Sweat. I don't know, but I think we should definitely do a whole New Jack Swing episode and just touch on everybody that music touched, those big records from Just Got Paid to the Heavy D stuff to the Kumo D stuff. I think he did a record with Kane. He did a record with, and how he influenced. There is no BBD, at least that sound, without New Jack Swing and Teddy's influence, because it's his influence was there. Jermaine Dupri said he wanted to be like Teddy, so his influence goes on, and a good part of it is because of him and Keith Sweat experimenting and doing an album that was different than what was going on at the time. Man.
Yeah, he basically, if you think about it, he basically took a chance.
Yeah. No, Elektra as well.
Yeah.
And so somebody over there, maybe some young A&R or whatever the case. I don't know. I want to say Sylvia Rome was the president at the time. I'm not exactly sure. I know she came. So, she has a thing for young people and sound. Because you got to remember, she also signed Gerald Levert. And Gerald Levert didn't sound like that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm casting over maybe, just that little sounds or whatever. But it wasn't New Jack Swing as we know it, that kind of thing. So
right. And her signing new sounds, I believe she signed Missy as well.
Yeah, all that. She ushers in. She's not afraid to do something new and do that. And Keith Sweat was one of them. So with that being said, man, that was the Keith Sweat conversation over here in the Make It Last Forever album, man. Stay tuned. We got some other stuff coming up. We got some interviews. We having more of a conversation. We dissect the albums, give it to you. Please leave in the comment how you feel about that Make It Last Forever and what were you doing in those times. And also, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, do all that good stuff. And at the end of the day, I am Scorpio Moe.
I am C.Boogie.
And this is the Run It Back podcast.
Run that back
podcast. I'm sorry, man. I've been drinking today, part.
Run that